In the 90s, Playmates Toys made the deepest line of Star Trek action figures in history. My name's Keith, and I'm a collector working towards owning all 284. I've been a Trek fan for almost 35 years, and most people are sick of me talking about it. But somehow I've convinced my old friend Mike to review them with me on Look at My Star Trek Toys! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Look at My Star Trek Toys. We are continuing our reviews of the 2022 Playmates figures. Very excited to continue this. Today, we are going to be reviewing none other than Captain
Mickey Mouse.
Spock.
Wait, what?
No, Spock, actually.
Oh, okay.
Spock. He does look a little bit like Mickey Mouse here, so I'll give you that. But I'm excited to unbox this one. Mike, how are you feeling?
Keith, can't stop, won't stop. I'm right there with you. I'm going to go ahead and shoot some B-roll with my Spock. I've now got Kirk and Spock, so I feel like I've got really a pretty good crew developing over in my little corner shelf. So no, I'm excited. We're back. We're kind of alternating back and forth between the two lines. We've got the original series and TNG.
Next gen, yeah.
Next gen, and it's great. We're Keith and I, as you could tell from our previous videos, we're really digging this line. We're loving the likeness. So let's see if it continues. If two giant gloved thumbs ups this week, or are we going to go glove thumb down? We'll see.
I think here's what happens. All the tiny hands on Data, so they had all the extra material. They melted all down and made the giant hands for Spock. So I think that's why Data has such tiny hands. It's a conspiracy theory. So I think that's what happened.
Radiation gloves. Oh, that's what it is.
Oh yeah. Well, these are the Wrath of Khan ones.
Well, okay.
Something's very sad is about to happen when you put on the gloves, buddy.
These hands are not mini. Okay, we'll get to it.
Yeah. We're gonna do the whole thing. But before we do, we of course need to thank our patrons, who you can find on patreon.com/K&M, spell out that and, because if you're one of our patrons, you get more of our nonsense. You get Mike watching Deep Space Nine. We review random episodes from Star Trek. We have AMAs and all sorts of other nonsense. We did the animated series. That was weird. So lots of fun extra stuff there. And you're really helping to support the show. Mike, who is supporting the show at the moment?
Keith, we like to keep it, we like to mix it up. Sometimes I go frontwards. Today I go backwards. Thanks to our patrons, Charles Babbage, CRM Productions, Alan Zimmerman, and The Mysterious, Jorge Navoa, Jason Moe, Cloud Lover 69, Casey Clark, Brian Kaufman. Thank you. You can join this ragtag group of producers and countrywomen, space travelers. Just join them. Patreon.com/K&M, or you can also support the channel by liking, subscribing, telling a friend, or purchasing one of these incredible toys using our Amazon affiliate link below.
That's right. Yeah, that's a new way to support the show, because once you see this, you're going to want it, and if you're going to buy it, you might as well just click the link. Click the link, guys. Click the link. Yeah, everybody go out there and buy some toys. We would very much appreciate it. So here we are. We are doing Wrath of Khan era Spock, which is going to be super, super fun. Now, Mike, do you want to know what makes this figure interesting and unique in the figures from that we have done so far that aren't the Discovery figures?
Yes.
You have no idea, but the answer is this is not a rebuild of a figure from the original line.
Oh, okay.
We never got a movie era Spock. So this is actually a very exciting figure to have, because we got a Kirk, we got a Scotty, we got a Chekhov, all in the Generations line, and but that's it from the main cast from that era. So in order to get one, you had to customize. And we might be doing an episode coming up later with contributions from our friend Colin Dagan of customs from that era. But now you can actually have one in box, the original thing. So speaking of that box, what do you say we take a look at it, Mike?
Let's do just that.
Okay, so here we are in our classic Trek box. This is the retro packaging, and of course, it is a different scale from the original box. And we went through the differences on that on the Kirk episode. So if you missed our Kirk episode, it is linked below, and you can get into all of that. But of course, there is no one-to reference here from Spock. So all of the choking hazards, I believe, are... actually, you know what? I don't know. Are these reprints? The gloves are obviously brand new, but are the other choking hazards here new to this line, done in the style of, or borrowed from other figures? That is my question to you, smarter people out on the internet, because I'm certainly curious. But of course, we get galactic accessories, including an engineering tool, a Starfleet tricorder, radiation gloves, and a bonus, like we said last week, a bonus movie, Star Trek movie action base. Now, of course, that text is from back in the day when there was a movie action base, and now it's just the same gray piece of plastic and every figure gets. Playmates Series 2, you can do better. But as I mentioned last week, we are getting an awful lot at this price point, so I can't get too salty about it. But yeah, that'd be really cool if you could.
While you're at
improve
it,
bases.
don't just paint the base. Give me, like, instead of giving me a cardboard card like they used to, what I want in this new era, Keith, is I want a laser engraving of the face on the base. Come on now.
What did I just say about the price point of these things? You're going to laser engrave a face on the base at a... This is on Amazon right now for like $12.99.
Yeah, well, you know, Apple puts your name on your iPad's case or your iPod case for free.
Yeah, and how much did the iPod cost, buddy?
All right, let's move on.
Do they even make iPods anymore?
Well, yeah. AirPod. AirPod. Oh.
We're old. All right. So again, we have the sticker here, or not sticker, the graphic here commemorating the 40th anniversary of Wrath of Khan. And speaking of like little details I'd never noticed, I love that part of the logo is the earworm.
Mm.
What a cool piece of that logo there. Hats off STU graphics people, because that is so iconic that you know exactly which movie that's from. And it's one of the most memorable scenes in the movie. So really cool. I like that very much. So looking at the back, we get our usual stuff. Mike, will you do a dramatic reading of the it doesn't have a bio for Spock on the back. It has a recap of Star Trek 2. Would you give us a dramatic reading of the recap of Star Trek 2?
Which is good, because I'm going to need that, yeah. Well, first we have subject, Spock. Species, Vulcan/human. Rank, captain. Assignment, first officer, USS Enterprise, NCC 1701. Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan. Seeking vengeance on James T. Kirk. Superhuman tyrant Khan hijacks a starship, steals the Genesis device, and sets a deadly trap for the crew of the Enterprise.
Ooh, big. That's, it's Wrath of Khan.
Khan!
I would say it's iconic.
Wow. This has been
Patreon.com/KNM. You know you want to give us money.
Keith, I did do a spell check already, so
yes,
we're good.
So no apparently, so the tradition of typos from Playmates in the 22 line are for the ships and phasers only. So look forward to that next. So Playmates. Yeah, I know. We had a little fun with your typos, but now it's a tradition. So for Series 2, you gotta leave a typo on your ships and props, because I don't know. It's fun. I have enjoyed that immensely. So yeah, so that's the back of the box. We get sort of our paintings here. We talked about that in previous videos. They probably did these paintings A because they look great, and B because they probably hadn't finished the molds when they did these boxes. But yeah, I think that the box design looks great. We've got our Q code, and yeah. So that's it, Mike. I think maybe it's time to hop over to Toy Cam and bust this open.
Let's do it.
What do you say? All right. Now, because
I should mention in the on our previous, what did we last week, Picard video, we didn't make note of it, and people have made note. I found that subsequent to my first figure, which was my Kirk, every packaging has been glued better. Like this specifically, this Spock looks glued very well. The plastic.
That's
topping.
true.
Yeah.
I had a hell of a time getting into Picard. So, but now I have a razor blade. So now here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna open this up, then bleed all over everything. So here we go. Let us see how the glue is. Ooh, can I even get it? Yeah, so I think they got our note and went very glue heavy on these ones here. So let's bust her open. Now, obviously, I'm not trying to save the packaging here, and we're taking it out of the packaging because this is for fun and not for collecting. A lot of collectors will keep them intact. All right, so here we are. He's got his seat belts, and you can see the back of Spock up there. Let's yeah, all right. Let's bust through these. Let me see if I can open up the seat belts without killing me or Spock, because it's very precarious for Spock here with this razor blade. You know what? I'm not even going to do it that way because I fear for his reproductive health if I go at it that way.
I'll go ahead and say while you're doing that, I made a bold statement in how effusive I was about the Jean-Luc Picard facial sculpt. I find this to be less awesome. It's definitely a great Spock, but I'm not getting as much Nimoy. Like, if you look at the rendering on the back, which is an amazing painting, that doesn't all translate through, in my opinion.
Yes, all right. So let's do that. Yeah. Yup. Yeah, it's not nearly as good a sculpt as the Patrick Stewart sculpt. That's just the truth, folks. I mean, it's very clearly Spock, right? And it's not a bad sculpt. It's just that could be sort of a generic Vulcan cosplay as opposed to specifically Leonard Nimoy. And also, does mine look a little cross-eyed to you?
Yeah, maybe. I don't have that issue on mine. I don't know if I can zoom, if the zoom will work good enough, but no, I guess I see it, but it's,
there are little variations in the there we go. Come on. In the UV painting, of course. Why won't you focus? There we are. It also could just be the light. It's a little bit better from an angle where there's not a light glaring in it. But yeah, I mean, it's the sculpt is, it's better from the side. Look at that. That's actually
cool.
much better from the side than it is. So all right, so credit where credit is due. The side looks good. Yeah, so couple things about him. He obviously has the Vulcan salute built into the figure, which I believe the original ones sometimes did as well. We see the great articulation of the new line here. This, of course, is Captain Spock, whereas we talked about before and got some of the details wrong because, that's what we do here. You get some of the times get the details wrong. Admiral Kirk seeing the gold along the trim there because he's a captain does not have it. And he does have the slightly squishy tunic here, which is great. I mean, it flows a little bit more like fabric. As I said before, I worry about how it's going to stand up in the sandbox. Because the original Playmates line are just so tough. I worry a little bit about them being beaten up, but I don't know how many kids are going to be playing with a Spock figure from like 20 years before their parents were born. You know what I mean? That said,
I also find that the egregious copyright that we've complained about before is, like, once again, less egregious to me on the red than it is on the yellow, or the blue for that matter, on the
yeah,
disco figures.
this is definitely the least intrusive of them. And actually, if we look at the card that we had here, you can see the red rubbing off a little bit and showing the black. I have a conspiracy theory, and I may be wrong, but I think that is because
They base black it.
This is base black with red paint over it. This is base red, so there's no red to rub off, revealing the copyright. So I think that's what's happening there. Which is why on the Spock here, you barely unless you're literally looking for it, you don't even see it.
Mm-hmm.
So that is by far the least intrusive copyright thing that I've seen on a figure so far. Yeah, I mean, terrific articulation as before. I love the matte sort of painting of it. So I think it's time to play with some of these choking hazards. Of course, we gotta do the Mickey Mouse hands. These we've seen the basic choking hazards here. I bet these are original choking hazards from other figures that probably had stickers on them we missed the stickers. There's no question we missed the stickers. But nowhere in the original line were the Mickey Mouse hands. So a couple things to notice right away, Mike.
Oh, they're squishy.
They're squishy. So these are a squishy plastic. Which allows you, obviously, to get it over the hands, which is definitely interesting, and they're cut. So, which I believe is the only way you could get it on the hands without damaging the figure. So it's cut up there, and here, and then we're just about you are and has always have been my friend. It's so funny. Like, if you don't know the movie, this is really silly, and if you do know the movie, this is very sad. Once you see all of this, yeah, I mean, I get it. I like it as a reference to Wrath of Khan, and there's no other sort of like iconic prop that you could give Spock from that movie. But to me, it looks a little silly. I don't think I would display it with the silly hands.
Well, no. I will say this, though. It does give you an option if you're anti the always-on Vulcan display. At least you can opt out of it.
If you really do not want to send the message, live long and prosper, if you're like, you know what, I want you to live short and fail, then...
I just don't. It's just, unless you're doing an active display of him from a scene from the movie, as Keith mentioned, it's weird. It's just silly. It's campy.
It's campy. Although I would love for them to make a play set of Wrath of Khan era engineering where you could actually do the whole scene, and then it would make sense, and then it would be very cool. Yeah, so let's give Spock some dignity and take these off. It's interesting. It's unique, right? We certainly didn't have any gloves of any sort in the original line. So that is a new innovation for this line, that they've never done anything like that before. But yeah, no, if you put his hands down, like, it looks like he's flashing gang signs. So I don't, it's a little weird. But yeah, I mean, as I said before with the Picard figure, if he has a regular hairline, that looks much better. But also, even with the hairline, it's tighter.
Yeah, I agree.
That's weird.
But my
It's weird.
Picard is the same, I should say. So it's not an anomaly.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's the design. So now I've got something fun because there's no original line to compare this one to. But guess what? I
Spock
do.
Parade.
I have a custom
Oh.
of this era, and so you can see how it would have looked had they made one back in the day. So again, it's taller. The proportions are less well fed. I think I believe this is probably a Kirk body being used, which is why it looks like it's had a sandwich, as opposed to the original one. So obviously there's just some scale parts that you just can't deal with, or it might have been the Scotty. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure how it was made, but you can see a couple of things. The details are better, right? You have although for generations, all right, fans out there, folks who know better than I do, are these stripes here from the Wrath of Khan era? Did those get retained through the later movies? Did we see those in Generations and in Star Trek 6 and 5 and that kind of stuff? Or were those innovations for Wrath of Khan because they were subtly changing them as time went by? I'm curious if this is more screen accurate or this just represents a different era of those tunics. So, smart people, answer my question. But yeah, I mean, I think the original Spock face looks more like Nimoy to me from the front at least, and maybe a little less from the side.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the blue eyeshadow is true to screen, but not necessarily what we took in as an audience, because that was to pop on camera. This was maybe a little much for the original line figures. But yeah, and again, you see the scale difference, and I think one of the complaints about this line is that while there are minor variations in height, like the Saru is a little bit taller, for the most part they're all the same height. And Patrick Stewart is definitely shorter than Leonard Nimoy, and here they are basically the same height. So that I think is one of the valid complaints about this new line, is that they're not as in scale with each other as the original line was. And that I might care about more than them being within a quarter inch of the original line.
Right.
Because I don't see myself now, because there's a lot of debate, right, about how this new line would be used in conjunction with our original line. And there's a lot of like, oh, are these going to fit seamlessly in with the other line on our bookshelves and such? And the answer is sort of, but not completely. And I envision that the next gen Playmates figures are probably going to live on a separate shelf. Especially with the duplicates. Right, because I'm not going to put that Picard up against the original Picard. That's going to look weird. Where I will be tempted to mix them in with the original ones are filling the holes in the line. So, this Spock might want to live with this era of the movie era uniforms to fill in the holes. But I don't know. I mean, I guess I have to get to my bookshelf and start playing with it and see where these all fit in. But Mike, where are they going on your bookshelf?
Well, Keith, I've only got a few, so they're going just right on the one shelf next to the phaser. But I will say that I don't know. Maybe it's just because we've been looking at a bunch of them lately, but I'm not as jazzed about Spock as I was Kirk, and they're in the same sort of mini line. And he's probably my least favorite of all of the figures we've seen. I mean, it can't knock it. There's no overarching disagreement I have with the way they're doing it. It's just not as great a sculpt. I find that the hands to be a little silly. But ultimately, it's still great. I think it's still a great figure. If I had to rank it, I would probably give it one goofy thumb up and one human thumb down.
Yeah, I don't know how to put that into a spreadsheet, but I'm with you. I really like it, but I do think that compared to the other sculpts, this facial sculpt, these two together, right? There's just no. Come on, Keith. There we go. There's no comparing these two facial sculpts. One is definitely superior to the other. And I would love, it's good because it's Spock, right? This isn't like some weird side character. It's Spock. I would love for them to have done a little bit better with the facial sculpt on Spock. But the rest of it's, the hand's a little weird out of context. But I like it. I think I give it a slightly less enthusiastic thumb up than I do Picard. But it gets I would say thumb in the medium only in relation to the other figures in this line, right? If you showed me this out of context of the other figures in this line and you said, okay, here, you can have this for $12.99, I'd be like, hell yeah. So it really is a little bit hamstrung by the success of some of the other figures in this line. But so it's good though. I mean, again, these tiny little details, once they're on the bookshelf behind me, they're on the other side of the room. Like, I'm never going to notice the difference in the facial sculpt once it's in the display. So it's really starting to nitpick at this point. But I like it. I mean, I'm excited to get into, because we're going to do Khan soon. And we're going to do Riker soon, and that's going to be really fun. So there's still lots more to come in the Playmates 2022 line that I'm really excited to keep diving in. Folks, what did you feel about this figure and about the line in general? And look, I'm saying I can get it for $12.99 on Amazon because I'm here in the States. I know for the people internationally, that is not the experience that they're having. With the value-added tax and the shipping and the distribution, we're definitely going to be asking Playmates about their international distribution, because I think that's a really fair question. And a lot, we're here in the States, we're here in North America, and we have the privilege of all of that. And we're, but a lot of you out there watching can't just go to the Target and grab it, and can't just, Amazon it for $13. So, we're going to try to dig into that and give you some answers on that. But if you're enjoying what we're doing here, do us a big favor, give us a like, give us a subscribe, tell your friends, let other people know to join our exciting adventure here. You can join our Patreon at patreon.com/K&M, and get a whole bunch of fun bonus content. Any final thoughts, Mike?
No final thoughts, Keith. Just looking forward to next week as we continue this journey. Thank you to Playmates for sending these out. But just know, bought this with my own money, so our opinions are always our own.
They are indeed. Buy some below and our links below. We really appreciate it. So till then, this has been... Look at my Star Trek toys!